All right, so this is the latest general discussions recording, and it's a very important one, and as regards to the outcome of the elections. All right, but let me first start this by saying, all right, the great Albert Einstein, one of the best, the most notable scientists alive, said, the very definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So how this applies is going to be very fitting for this recording. And the title of this recording is going to be "The Fall of the Old Guard." And when I mean the old guard, that's the PNP. And for those who don't know, with the general elections, the PNP pretty much got wiped out by the GLP, as I predicted, because most of us weren't surprised at this. Whether or not you liked it, you don't need the prophetic skills of Nostradamus or the Joan of Arc to see that, hey, this is going to only go one way, and that one way was not going to benefit the opposition, because in the arguably the most crushing defeat of the PNP, the GLP was able to do something that um, the JLP was able to do something that's never been done before for years. They secured a second term, because usually JLP, when they get into power, they're only here for one term, and then some scandal ever gets them out of power, and the PNP return, and that's how things are usually set. But non surprisingly, the PNP got a rude awakening. And no, I am not sorry one bit. I'll openly honestly say that this was karma for the type of taxes and policies that the opposition were running, and they've been doing it for a long time, and it's finally come back and bitten them. So I will not miss the PNP, the fact that they've been crushed by the current government, because GLP won 14, got 49 seats, and PNP's 14 seats. Let that just sink in right there for everybody. That, as I said, that's got to be the worst defeat of the PNP in Jamaican history. Right. So yeah. So, and the current leader, well, about to be former leader of opposition, Peter Phillips. Well, I also predicted that this was basically if he lost, he's finished, because he's basically say he's going to step down at this point. And as I said, like, this was the very foolish decision to have him remain as head of the party when special elections were coming. Yeah, that came back to bite them. Not surprising whatsoever. But let's go on. It's the thing. To be fair, though, it's more than Peter Phillips. Though, it's like, yeah, Phillips is going to be the fall guy for this fiasco, obviously, but he but to be honest and fair, it's more than just him. Like, this whole party, especially the old guard. The old guard mean a lot to the elder PNP heads, as I said with that recording about Peter Phillips versus Peter Bunting, they wanted to maintain this hierarchy that the older guard must remain on top, and the younger ones must be their subservient lackeys. And this, and again, and I predicted, especially when I did that recording, that that's going to come back full circle on you. And I said, this is the end result. Because many of them knew that Phillips, much like Porsche, that these weren't great leaders. But the thing is, what has always happened with the PNP for the most part is that they've had weak opposition in the GLP. All right, and before any diehard GLP supporters who are doing victory laps and are popping the champagne, if you're in this court, this isn't for you. I'm not pro JLP. I'm not here to congratulate the winning party, because, as I said, both parties are a distinction without a difference. All right, like, regardless, and I've said it in the last recording I did, it matters little who actually won, because Jamaica loses in the end. So, and I've said that with the JLP, you get a continuance of the Siaga and Golden policies that have not worked for the country. All right, and with Holness, the current prime minister. Never mind, this is a guy who's had his own share of scandals, especially with Rural Reed, Yolanda Ramharak, as Del Vaz. Yeah, that's Yeah, trust me. Is when you hear Vaz and scandals, that's basically like metal and magnet. That this goes they're synonymous. Um, as well as Michael Wheatley and others, and not to mention how the COVID-19 fiasco is handled. Because under the current government, due to the laxity in precautions, especially during Emancipation, Independence Day, and campaigning, the numbers are numbered. We're back to square one the the epidemic that has gone much worse. All right. And I've said that the only people that are primarily going to benefit are all these businesses, these people with people in high places, a lot of the people with the fat pockets, all right, and as well as or slave masters across the pond. All of them are the ones that are primarily going to benefit from the current government staying in power. So to all the people who are just jollying behind that the current government is still in power. Like I say, whatever they do and it's going to be your detriment, don't complain. But again, so this is just to all the GLP supporters want to come here and think that this is going to be me cheering, celebrating in their victory. No, this is not for you. This is just me being honest. And the purpose of this recording, this is just a case study of what happens of how not to maintain power. And in the case of the opposition, this is a loss that has to be analyzed. This is a loss that has to be studied because many people have to learn from this, and especially the opposition who are licking their wounds right here because they got their most devastating defeat in Jamaica's political history. No, I will know. People might say, okay, what would have happened if the PNP Phillips and PPN had won? Again, distinction what's the difference because the JLP has their scandals, the PNP has their scandals. I remember with Phillips, we got a man who was a terrible minister of national security. There's also a guy that helped to help bring back the IMF, who have helped to suck Jamaica dry like a parasite under Portia administration when they regained power back in 2012. This is also a guy that under his leadership in opposition, Damon Crawford lost to Anne Marie Vaz in Portland because he made a foolish mistake of putting a guy that has no history in Portland against someone who is more established, even though she has no political history, unlike her husband, the aforementioned Darrell Vaz. Instead of putting, I remember Portland was always a PNP stronghold after with the late Linval Bloomfield. But Phillips made the stupid mistake of putting a guy that is not has his deep flaws in a place that people in Portland don't know him. That was on Phillips. Now, bear in mind, this didn't begin with Phillips, and I'm being fair that I'm not just going to say it's all his fault though, but with back to the old guard that I had that this is really about though. They made the foolish mistake again of putting Phillips, who even most of the people in PNP don't really want, because when he Bunty ran, Phillips won by a margin, as only because many of the dinosaurs in the party they just basically said we don't like what Bunting symbolizes. We don't like the fact that if Bunting had won, that okay, that's going to break that in for the hierarchy, which means that older heads, we must always be in charge. Until we're until we have health problems in case of Omar Davis, Portia Simpson, and so on. All right, and who was that guy? And in the case of the late Roger Clark and the late Hibbert, I forget the first name of him. Yeah, that's the only way we're going to get out. That we just want to maintain poll. That they made the mistake of marginalizing and pushing out the younger ones. I can count on top of my finger how many younger ones, aside from Damian Crawford and Crystal Tomlinson, who are still there, who are still have any recognition or any prominence. Because a lot of the younger ones were marginalized and they just left in disgust in disgust because a lot of the old guard said that hey, we're not willing to make a transition where the younger ones can come in, take over for us and continue this tradition. We're just going to keep you marginalized because we're not leaving this till were older than that. And look where that got you. That's one of the main reasons we lost right here, because there were no appealing candidates within the PNP, and ones that did sort of have an appeal, well, they basically were just told to stay at the back. Because I remember that when Lisa Hanna, and yeah, whether or not you liked her as an MP, I'm not here to criticize her directly for her performance. When she had actually aspired to be vice president, yeah, she was basically told to shut her mouth and mind her place. And yeah, at the last moment when they're campaigning, they gave her and Bunton some prominent roles, and that was just basically just to help. That was just basically to help maintain at their appeal, but the damage and the cracks in the armor were too apparent, because even Bunting was helped to maintain that, was put in, had a prominent role in the current campaign. The infighting between him and Phillips was just too obvious that people weren't really buying that unity that they were put that they claimed that they were had. All right, and yeah, and again, like I said, look where this has had where this has gotten this party. All right, and yeah, well, with regards to Peter Bunting, who ironically lost his seat in the current election, there are people who said, what would have happened if Bunting had actually won, had been party leader to Phillips? Would he have stood a better chance in Holness? You want to know the honest answer? Not that's 50-50. I mean, like, Bunting, I think under Bunting, you'd have gotten some traction, not by much, of course, because Bunting, remember, he has his history too. Remember, he is the guy who was a terrible Minister of National Security when the PNP returned to power in 2012. Me like, and but then again, that was a fault of Portia Simpson Miller, because she said, "Hey, let's put instead of put this guy as Minister of Finance, which he's better at, let's make him Minister of National Security." And he did a abysmal job, much like Peter Phillips did. I mean, let's put guys who have no business or history in a certain position, and expect good results, of course. So with Bunting, I'd basically say that he would have had a much better chance. I don't think the defeat would have been as crushing. Do I still think he would have won? Again, not likely, because again the baggage and the damage from the opposition was just too great that it wouldn't really have mattered. I do think that it wouldn't have been as humiliating if you had gotten a newer, younger face. And yeah, Bunting's up there in his 50s, so he's not really a young person, but he's young enough that he could probably had some appeal. And again, this is the me being nice right here. But again, this, as I said though, is that it was too little, too late. And the reason why I say this is because Phillips, as I said, he has a choice to retire. He's basically saying he's done for, as predicted. But it's not just Phillips that needs to go, as I said. Like, a lot of the older heads, the ones who foolishly put Phillips in charge, the ones who basically said that we're just going to have the dinosaurs remain at the front and center, rather than making way for the younger ones, and provided that they don't have the same dogma and doctrine as the older heads. We don't really care about them whatsoever. We want them just to be our little mouthpieces and servants. And as I said, all this came back to bite them full force. All right, and because remember, and to be fair, like I said, the GLP, they have their dinosaurs too. But the thing what about the current government has said, which you kind of have to give them credit, as I've said before, is that they're smart enough to give the illusion that they want, that they're giving more prestige and more prominent roles to the younger ones, like with the prime minister. Because let's be honest here, he doesn't really run the party. I mean, he's just basically doing their figurehead, so to speak. Like, he's just basically in some doing the bidding of a lot of the older ones, but they're smart enough to say, let's step to the side. Let's let this younger guy, and well, let's push a little bit more the younger ones. Dinosaurs in the government are basically not going to go anywhere. I mean, unless they have health issues or forced up. But let's just give them the illusion that we're trying to make a change, because we have to appeal to the younger bases. And cause remember, reasons why the government is staying there, because Oh, because a lot of the younger Jamaicans, all right, the diehard younger Jamaicans say, you know what, we can connect more to Andrew. I mean, bear in mind that regardless of what is really his get down really is, we see someone who's young enough that we can appeal to. I mean, like we're going to overlook all the stuff that's going scandals that happened with him. I mean, like because they basically said, where else we're going to choose from? I mean, like, we don't connect to Peter Phillips. I mean, Phillips, even when you look at his demeanor and whatever, he basically didn't even want the position. All right. And the thing is that but the thing is that he was so in denial about it that even when there were health issues, and which was an omen from the heavens that, hey, you have to kind of step down now. Well, it's too little, too late at this point, of course, because he didn't really read the tea leaves, so to speak. And and again, this is the end result and what it led to. Yeah, because the old guards in the opposition said that we're going to stay here into power. The only way you're going to get us out of power is if you drag us out kicking and screaming. Well, what happened with them was that they were kicked out of power, dragging and screaming. That is what happened. So that is the object lesson that we Jamaicans need to learn here. When you have, and again, this is not really disrespect to the older generation, the ones that generally want better, who get the idea that we have to train the younger ones. Well, the ones who want to learn and who are willing to work hard, of course. We want to transition you so you can take over for us, because that's what any progressive society wants to do. We don't have a selfish generation of older people who refuse to leave power because, hey, we don't want the younger ones to come and really take over, and we have to step down and move into the back. We just want to stay into front even till we drop dead, literally. And that is what really caused the PNP. And remember, even before Phillips too, because it happened with Portia because the only way they got back into power after 2008 was because of the Dudas thing. And the only way the PNP was going to get back into power was if there was another Dudas-like scandal. And that never happened. And the thing is, any smart progressive party would know that. You can't just rely on, oh, this government, the current government in power is bad, or we have to unseat them because they're bad. You have to say, okay, why are we better? What do you have to offer that would make us want the current ruling government to be back in opposition? What do you have to offer? And PNP didn't offer anything, yeah. And people were saying, oh, Phillips beat Holness in the debate. And I'm saying, debates don't really mean nothing, because also you have to remember that what was the PNP's manifesto as opposed to GLP? Because I mean, both of them were promising the sun, moon, and the stars, but at the end of the day, is that how is it any better or any different than what the GLP were offering? And I say it's the fact that the GLP won not because they were the better party, because they had very weak opposition, right? And I don't think that was. And again, the end result is not the fact that, okay, that I was surprised that they won. Me, and I was surprised how badly the PNP lost me, because like I said, like even with all the scandals with the government, that I knew that even with that, though, it's going to be people are just going to say, okay, yeah, the current government maybe this and that, but how's the opposition any a better turn? Because and bring this around to say this is why this is an object lesson of how you do not maintain power. And I've always had a theory in both parties that both reason why a lot of the older ones refuse to step down, and yes, part is because of they want to maintain they want to get all the financial benefits and the symbolic trinkets and the goodies, giveaways and guarantees. Yeah, that's the one reason. But the other main reason is that they understand that a hierarchy must be maintained in their according to their logic. Because if the most dangerous threat to the rule of the old guard is that having some younger people who have the right ideology, who can get things done and have a lot of influence, all right, and who can turn things around at their expense, they don't want that, right? And again, that's why they have the current prime minister, like he's their figurehead, because they had to vet wholeness to say, okay, you're not going to except damage the status quo we have in our party. You're going to make sure that the older heads that are still there that refuse to leave, that they're good to go, and you're going to follow our policies and our dictates. So he's not really going to be, he's not going to kick over the apple cart, so to speak. And but with the PNP, you would throw more blatant that they're not even going to give that delusion that they don't that they want the younger, that they don't care about the younger ones. They're basically saying to the younger ones, stay in the back and shut up. All right, and if you dare challenge us, all right, even if we don't like the current head leader, well, the former current leader, we're going to choose him over us because he represents the old guard. And and the thing is that they basically said even if we have the even the ship sinks because of the direction that the old guard is going, yeah, so be it. As long as that hierarchy is maintained. I say it's the fact that after this, I don't expect that it's 50-50 that the PNP are going to learn anything from this. Even with this crushing defeat, like I said, Phillips is going to be the scapegoat, but the problem is that a lot of the other the dinosaurs aside from Phillips need to take this as an omen to leave. And but the problem is that they fail to maintain and they fail to groom the younger ones to take their places. And as a result, there's no really appealing candidates at this point that can really help do the damage control because basically their ship has sunk like the Titanic and is at this point and has gone deep under the water. And it's going to take a good while for them to actually bring that proverbial ship. I mean, my take is that they need to leave that ship at the bottom and get a new ship and build a new ship because at this point they have no choice but to start over. But I do suspect that many of the old guard are not going to get learn their lesson after this. Yeah, they'll probably most the ones that are still there, the ones that are not forced out. Man, I'm just going to say, okay, they're going to do the thing where they're in denial about the results. They'll cry foul. They say that, oh, that these elections were rigged or whatever, and the GLP cheated them. I mean, they're not going to blame themselves for any other loss. I don't expect them to do. And even whatever younger ones are there are basically going to still be told to mind their place. But I do recommend that the younger ones, a lot of you need to develop that spine where you said, you know what, this is an omen of what omen that the old guard is finished. They may not be, they'll be in denial about it, of course, but this is a omen from the heavens that the old guard is finished, all right? And the thing is that I do not feel sorry for that the old guard got destroyed because there's no way that the opposition should have lost if they had actually taken the right steps to transition power to a lot of the younger ones. And before anyone says, okay, there's that it says that okay, that having a younger face out need. No, it doesn't. To me, I said it takes the right ideology with a younger face to get things back on track. All right, but that has not happened because at this point they should have said, you know what, let's do a lot of the dinosaurs need to kind of just take this as an omen, just a step down right now. Because what you did, you just handed the country to the JLP, and they can't directly blame them because what are scandals that the JLP have accumulated and are going to keep accumulating. Because bear in mind that they're going to be a lot more people are going to be inconvenienced, especially the ones who think that they've won some great victory right now, whatever. All right, but this is a time that if I were in part of the PNP, which I'm never going to be, to be honest, that a lot of the younger ones, a lot of the ones who have sense on their heads, that the ones that don't want to maintain that two-party hierarchy, a lot of them need to be saying, we have to do a lot of house cleaning. A lot of the dead weight needs to go now. All right, and they have to say to the scene, a lot of the older heads, the ones that refuse to leave the house. They have to say, look, we need all right. Part of the reason why we lost is because of y'all. All right, y'all are just so hell bent to maintaining power that you didn't see that you left yourself so you left yourself open to be struck down. All right, And as I said, this is just a object lesson on what happens when the old when how you do not maintain power. And this is the fall. This is what I call it, the fall of the old guard. But the most important thing I want to take from Jamaica is this: that we need to move away from that two-party system. Because as I've said, regardless which party wins, Jamaica loses, and people who are just depending on either the orange or the green parties to really have your best interest. Well, y'all got your rude awakening, all right, and all right. Well, actually, to be fair, the ones who think that they're celebrating victory, well, you're all about to get your continue to get your rude awakening. But again, this is just the reason why this, and this is not even about PNP or GLP, but this people we need to learn a lesson from. This is an object study of what happens when maintaining power in the wrong possible way when it comes back to bite you full force. And this is what happened to the PNP, that they so hell bent to maintain that the hierarchy of the old guard that they didn't take time or any interest in developing and guiding the young guard to take over. That the house has crumbled just like a stack of cards. And so all Jamaicans and the diaspora, when I excluding you, this is a case study of what happens. This is what we all need to learn from this defeat, because you can learn more from defeats than you learn from your victories. Because victory means you're doing something right, mean unless you're cheating, or defeat means that you did something wrong, mean unless you're cheated, unless the victor cheated. But this is an object lesson that we all have to learn. So this is for State of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Check out my YouTube pages, Miles Gusafarian, Miles Productions, and Real Thoughts of Miles. Okay.